Hello? Isn't this exciting? Ah! I'm in the same filming setup because I've got to get these fucking videos filmed. Or I never will. Okay, this is the technically third, reading vlog update of the year. Okay? I've only read 6 books this year, but because I filmed the first reading vlog like January 9th or something. That was technically the first reading vlog of 2025, but all the books that were included in it were 2024 books. So this is like actually the second video, but technically the third. Okay, first book. I read Intermezzo. This is a book by Sally Rooney, author of Normal People. Normal People is a show on Amazon Prime, I think. This, as you can see, there is a queen, a white queen right here, and on the back there is a black knight, a woman, and a dog. So you might be thinking, Sam, there's probably a lot of chess in this. You probably really liked it. First of all, let's not even complain about the book. Let's complain about the book. This is a paperback. I like paperbacks because I like a book that is super floppy and requires no effort to hold open. Does this look floppy to you? This is stiff as a board. It is still this stiff after brutally breaking the spine. This is like, it's like a high quality paperback that feels low quality because I have such a hard time holding it open. Like I literally, after a certain point, every single new page, I would flip the page and go all the way like this to be able to hold it comfortably. This is like some of the worst printing I've ever felt in my life because it's supposed to be super high quality, but every page feels like cardboard because of how stiff it is. So let's talk about the book itself. I gave this book 6 out of 10. And that's not a very high rating. I gave this book 6 out of 10 not because it was written poorly. If we're just judging by the language alone, this book would be solid 8. But we're not judging by the language alone, are we? In terms of character and plot, there are 2 characters. There is Ivan, the 22-year-old chess FIDE master. Okay? I don't think he's ever mentioned to be a FIDE master, but it says he's trying to become an international master, and you're not trying to become an IM if you're not an FM already, because FM you get to once you hit 2300. You don't get to IM until you're 2400. So if he's trying to become an IM, that means he's already an FM, realistically. Like, unless you're like 10 years old and you're getting IM norms and your rating goes from 2200 to 2400 in 1 month, then you can say you're going for IM without being an FM. But yeah, so he's kind of in a chess rut. He's one of the best in the country, which is the UK. I mean, it's kind of Ireland and England, I think. Unless I'm totally misremembering that. But it's both, I think. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just Ireland. I don't remember. Anyway, he's one of the best in Ireland because he's rated, somewhere close to 20, 2300. And then there's his brother, who is named... What the fuck is his name? Peter. His name is Peter. That's how forgettable he is. Peter is a lawyer and also is like 31. He is so boring, and he's also a massive hypocrite. Like, massive. Like, oh my goodness, he does not understand his brother at all. And will, like, tell his brother not to do things that he is actively doing and act like his brother is weird for doing them also, as he does them himself. But, you know, doesn't say, you know, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. No. He, like, doesn't even seem to care. Anyway, the whole book is about their relationship and their father just died right at the start of the book. Like, not even right at the start of the book. He died before the book starts, but they, like, go to the funeral and whatnot. And the whole book is about them trying to patch their relationship because they don't really have much of a relationship anymore. And now that their father is dead, who they both liked more than they like their mother, and they weren't even raised by their mother, now it's like, oh, everything's kind of falling apart and we don't really speak to each other. Not because we don't like each other, but because we have nothing to say. Like, they see each other once a week, but eventually they have a huge fight because Peter is a hypocrite and doesn't know anything and is totally brain dead. And then they eventually try to, like, Ivan blocks his phone number, and so he can't contact him at all. And then they try to, I don't know, they're each in a relationship with people of the opposite age. Ivan is 22 and is in a relationship with someone who's 36. Peter is 31 and is in a relationship with someone who's 21 or 23. She's either 1 year older or younger than Ivan is. But Peter is saying that the woman Ivan is dating is too old for him, while simultaneously dating someone who is the same age as his brother. This is where the hypocrisy comes in. Oh, and not only that, Peter's dating two people at once, and they both sort of know about it, but not, you know what I mean? It's weird. I don't know, the book doesn't necessarily explain it very well. If this all sounds convoluted and plotless, you'd be a very good listener. This goes on for about 130,000 words. And the resolution that this book has is that they eventually sort of make up once Peter realizes how fucking stupid he is. And he barely does that. And it feels like there's almost no emotional payoff because the whole conflict of the book relies on me giving a single fuck about what either of these people do with their lives in terms of being brothers. They could never speak again, and I would leave the book happy. Because Peter does not present himself as a character worth caring about. There you go. That is the biggest flaw in this book. Peter does not redeem himself in any meaningful way, and I don't care about their relationship succeeding. Which is what this entire book is about. Which means that I don't think it was very well written. But I gave it a 6 out of 10 because while I was reading it, I was mostly enjoying it. And then upon finishing the book, I sort of reflected and thought, if this book had never happened, would I care? which lands me at a 6. If 5 is like the most mediocre or even less than mediocre thing, the writing bumps it up to a 6 instead of a 5. But otherwise, this is like really, really, really mediocre stuff, and it really desperately needed to be like redrafted or beta read to really, really cement why I should care about anything Peter does and not just immediately hate him from start to finish because he's so stupid. And it's not even a book that's trying to make me hate him. That's another issue. If the book were trying to make me hate him, then it would have been, really well done, but the ending then doesn't make any sense. So, yeah. And also, the chess portion of this book was virtually irrelevant. Like, you shouldn't include chess in any book that isn't strictly about people playing chess and having that be the central through line of the book at this point, because the chess was completely useless in this book. It was all well done in terms of being accurate, but the author also said that she had many chess club members, doing all of the fact-checking for every mention of chess in the book. So, what I would expect it to be accurate in that case. Okay, next. I talked about that book for 12 minutes. Oh my god. Next, I read Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting that you'll ever need, by Blake Snyder. This book was written and published in 2004? 2005? I think it says 2005. Anyway, Blake Snyder's dead. Good riddance. See ya. Okay, I'm just gonna get it out of the way and say that this is the most, this book was written by a straight white man, and he seemed to write it as though the only people that would be reading this were also in that category, because the book acts like nobody else exists, and it also tells you to only write movies that will appeal to that demographic. You know what I mean? It's so, don't write for the craft, write for the money. You know what I mean? That's how this book is written a lot of the time. You might like your screenplay, but unless an executive wants to pay you $1 million for it, it's worthless. That's basically what this book says 1,000,000 times. And it says, to do that, you're gonna have to write a book that appeals to the average middle-class white family. And only them. If it appeals to anyone else, then you're not going to sell your script and you're going to die. That's basically what this book reiterates constantly. Now let's talk about the actual advice of the book. Is this actually good at telling you how to write a screenplay in terms of plotting and beats and figuring out character and arcs and all of these things? Yes, it does its job. I definitely learned something from this that I have not learned in my previous 2 screenwriting classes. And I think that overall it was a net positive learning experience. I do. And I will be returning to this book for specific chapters when re-outlining or, outlining for the first time any future books Yes, books, not just screenplays, but books and screenplays that I would like to write, because this also applies to books. Like, you have to be a lot looser with books in terms of following these beats, but you can apply them to books generally. Especially the shorter the book is, the more you can apply this. And so I will, to varying degrees. I will reference this, but I will not be beholden to it in the same way that I would more so be for a screenplay. I don't remember what I gave this book, but I will put the rating on the screen. And that leaves us with our final book. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 10. I don't know. I'll put the score on the screen right now. This book, I DNF'd, but I'm still giving it a full rating because I DNF'd it at 50%. DNF, if you don't know, means did not finish. 50%, and then reading the Cliff's Notes for what comes after that 50%, to me, is enough to give a book a fair rating, especially when the book came out 200 years ago. So, Wuthering Heights is a story about two people, mostly. Well, technically 3 and 4. It's about Catherine Earnshaw, who then becomes Catherine Linton, and about Heathcliff. I don't remember his last name. Maybe he's also Earnshaw, but because he's adopted, he's Earnshaw. And then eventually it becomes about Kathy Linton, I think, who is the daughter of Catherine, who dies. And I got as far as Catherine, who I will call Kathy, has died, and Catherine is still a child. That is where I ended the book. I would say that the biggest flaw of this book is that it seems very obvious that she was paid by the word to write it, because this book is a masterclass in writing the same scene 30 times in a row. This book is so painful to get through after a certain point, because it feels like it's getting good once Catherine stops being a little bitch and goes to Thrushcross Grange, where she learns how to have some manners for the first time in her life and isn't just throwing a tantrum. Then she goes back to her old ways very quickly and becomes useless in the story again. And Heathcliff, in every scene, is just throwing a tantrum, yelling, crying, for no reason at all. These two characters, all they do is fight with each other and fight with everyone else for no reason. If they were actually doing it for a legitimate reason, and not just being angry for nothing, the book would be fine. But this book writes Heathcliff and Kathy fighting either with each other or with other people over nothing for a good 40,000 words in a row. And I couldn't do it anymore. I gave this book 60,000 words to impress me, and it just kept getting worse and worse. This book is about 120,000 words long, and oh my goodness, Does it feel like it? I had to stop reading this because I realized I hadn't read for like 5 days and I was never going to get myself to pick up this book again. Which is why I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. Because there were so many moments in the book where I was like, wow, this is really getting good. This is finally picking up. And then, bam! Heathcliff is yelling again. Kathy is crying. Kathy's gonna kill herself. Heathcliff is angry. And no progress has been made in the story. And no one has an arc anymore. Or we had an arc and it went like this. And it right back to where it started. And it's just so tiring and boring. After 60,000 words, I just can't do it anymore. These characters should just be killed. If I were in this book, every single one of them would be shot. Nellie can live, and Lockwood can live, because they are victims of this story. No one else gets to live. Everyone else dies. I would shoot everyone on sight because they are just endlessly insufferable, and there's no point to them being insufferable. You know what I mean? I can handle insufferability in moderation and with good reason. They did not have either. It was constant and there was never any reason. So I'm done. Wuthering Heights, you have been horrible. You've been a horrible reading experience. I had to stop reading you. Emily Bronte, I don't owe you anything. No wonder you only wrote one book, because this wasn't good. And this book should have been 80,000 words at most. 120,000, it has no reason being that long. You needed to figure out how to actually give your characters a real arc, because they don't. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. The next book I will be reading is either Miss Ice Sandwich or Gravity's Rainbow. Miss Ice Sandwich is 20,000 words long, and Gravity's Rainbow is 333,000 words long. So I will either be reading the longest book on my TBR or the shortest book on my TBR next. I could start at either. I don't know. At this point, maybe I need something refreshing and light, and I will do Miss Ice Sandwich before I do Gravity's Rainbow, but I'm either doing that one and then this one, or this one and then that one. So it doesn't really matter. And then after that, the next book I read is what? Is either Crime and Punishment or Cards on the Table by Agatha Christie. I don't know. It depends on which one I start with. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. Goodbye. Get out of here.